Welcome to On the Digital 106 Garage, and today we're discussing the differences between a manual and an automatic car price-wise, and whether you should spend the extra for the automatic or save the money on the manual. Now, the car I'm driving is a Nissan Qashqai with a CVT automatic transmission, not known for its reliability. So the manual is the more reliable option, and it's also significantly cheaper. But is it a better idea, or is it worth paying the extra for the auto box? So when it comes to buying a cheap car especially, you'll find there's a lot of manuals in the lower echelons of the market. Manuals were a lot more popular previously than they are now. So there's more of them available cheaply because the demand is less and there's still a decent supply of cars. Now, that means you can get one for a lot less money in anything that's mainstream, or in either a hatchback, a sedan, an SUV, or a people mover. The reverse is true though with the high performance cars. So your hot hatchbacks, your coupes, and some of the convertibles, the manual alternative is the more expensive as it's more desirable. People want the performance and want the manual gearbox for the better control. So it depends on what you buy. The differences can be either way, manual or auto. Dynamically, the manuals tend to be the better cars though. And that's more personal thing. Some people love automatics, love the dual clutch ones especially, but personally I'm always going to be a manual man. And reliability, well, that's always going to be a win for the manual. The automatic gearbox, unless we're discussing certain manufacturers such as Toyota and some of the Mercedes, the auto boxes aren't always bulletproof. It depends on car to car. Some makes are worse than others. So for example, Nissans and CVTs, they're not bulletproof, they're anything but. So that means you're getting a more reliable car for the money in a manual. And that also means that some cars, the more reliable option is the cheaper option, but there's fewer of them. So is it worth seeking them out? Well, there's two ways I see this. Number one is the cost that you pay for the car and the maintenance, and also your enjoyment of owning the car. And number two is resale. So for example, if we were looking at a manual Qashqai like this, so this is a 2019 car, so a manual 19, if there are many available, which there aren't, you're looking at paying around about low 20s, so around 21, 22 for the manual, and 25, 26 for the auto. So there's $4,000 difference in the manual. And adding the fact that these CVT boxes are troublesome, if you lose a gearbox on an automatic, it's another $5,000. If you do a clutch on a manual, it's $1,000. The net saving, if all scenarios go pear-shaped with the transmission, is $8,000 for the manual. And yes, you might think, well, what if I can't drive a manual? Let me put it to you this way, $8,000 is a lot of reasons to go learn to drive a manual car, because you're saving a lot of money even with the lessons. You could spend $1,000 in lessons and still save $7,000. But there's a catch. Who wants to buy this car second-hand? So your manual Qashqai, if you pay 22 grand for it now, in 5 years is worth about, trading, you're looking at 10, private sale, depending on your case, anywhere from 12 to 15. Whereas the auto Qashqai in 5 years is still going to be worth anywhere from 17 to 21 if you don't do many Ks on it. But more likely it's going to sit around the 18 to 20 mark. All things considered on that front, the amount of money you save, if you're going to run the car into the ground, the manual absolutely saves you a truckload of money. If you're going to sell the car, that's when that discussion becomes more in the way of the automatic. And of course, the one thing I've left out here is the ability to drive said car. And it might sound a bit hard to say, but I would say if the difference between manual and automatic is something like, in the case of the Qashqai, $5,000, and then add in the fact that the transmission on the auto isn't especially reliable, I would say to that person who doesn't know how to drive a manual, let's go get a little $3,000 manual and let's teach you, because you're actually saving money learning to drive the manual. Opens more doors. But I get the fact that there's some like some people I know who just don't want to do it, and that's understandable to a point. If you go overseas, somewhere in Europe and Southeast Asia, they may not have an automatic. They're going to have a manual because that car is more suited to their needs. If you go to Greece or Italy or Spain, are you going to get an automatic as a rental car? I don't think so. You'll get some, but not everyone will have it. So there are a lot of reasons and pluses to learning to driving a manual, but of course I'm going to say that because I'm a petrol head. However, in terms of fiscal dollars and cents, the manual makes a lot more sense financially if you're going to run the car for longer. If you're going to sell it, then the automatic does have quite a bit of sense to it. If you're going to sell the thing privately, that's where you'll find the biggest advantage. So it is definitely worth considering these facts when you're looking at both a manual and an automatic car. If you like what we do, like and subscribe.